Have you ever had, like, one of those weekends where you just decide to cancel absolutely
Oh
everything?
yeah, like complete hermit mode.
Exactly. You tell your friends you're busy, you turn off your phone, you sleep for, I don't know, 2 days straight, and then Monday morning rolls around, you open your eyes, and somehow you are still completely, overwhelmingly exhausted.
Right, it physically feels like you just ran a marathon in your dreams or something.
Yes. Or maybe you've experienced this one. You try to help a friend who is going through a massive crisis.
Oh, that's always a minefield.
It is. You go in with the absolute best intentions, offering what you genuinely believe is like the perfect advice, and within 10 minutes, it just devolves into a screaming match.
Yeah, and it leaves both of you feeling 10 times worse than when you started.
Exactly. It's a maddening experience. And yet it's practically become the defining condition of modern life. We're all just walking around feeling this heavy, inexplicable friction in everything we do.
We really are. And I think the reason it's so frustrating is that our brains are just deeply wired for linear cause and effect logic.
Right. That basic formula of like, if I lack something, I just need to supplement it.
Exactly. You're hungry, you eat, you're tired, you sleep.
You're fighting with your family, so you force everyone to sit down for a long, grueling dinner to talk it out.
Right, because it feels logical, it feels controllable.
But when you look closely at your actual life, you realize this linear logic completely misfires, like almost all the time. It creates these massive cognitive blind spots for us.
And the irony there is that our instinct to fix things using that basic equation, it often generates the exact resistance we're trying to overcome.
Yes, we are literally manufacturing our own exhaustion and our own conflict.
Because we're completely misreading the fundamental nature of the problems right in front of us.
Which honestly brings us to the core mission of today's deep dive. We are going to explore the true root of all this physical and mental exhaustion.
It's such a crucial topic.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I want to be very clear about where today's insights are coming from because the material we're unpacking is just phenomenal.
Oh, absolutely.
So we're diving into a profound recording of a Buddhist teaching. And this was produced by Buddha's Practice Incorporated, Australia.
Right. And the insights themselves are so sharp.
They are. The core insights we're exploring today are delivered by the speaker, consultant Benny, while the incredibly sharp inquiries that really guide the whole conversation are made by a seeker of Buddhist teachings, Venerable Ivy.
Which is a fantastic dynamic to listen to.
Totally. And just to give full credit where it is due, the behind-the-scenes production for this material was handled by Notebook Bremen Dawn.
You know, what stands out immediately about this teaching is that it does not read like some lofty, abstract, philosophical text.
Right, because I think a lot of people hear Buddhist teaching and they immediately brace themselves for concepts that are totally disconnected from, like their daily commute or their office job.
Exactly. But consultant Benny uses everyday, tangible items. Things as simple as a cooked noodle or, a bite of ice cream.
It's so relatable.
It is. He uses them as literal scalpels to dissect the psychological and biological traps we fall into every single day.
It gets surprisingly microscopic, actually.
It really does.
Let's start with the baseline, though, because before we look at why everything in our daily lives feels so broken, we need to understand what a healthy, functioning state of life actually looks like according to this framework.
Right, you need a baseline.
Exactly. So consultant Benny outlines the ideal using two core concepts. It starts with this phrase, not lacking four conditions.
Now, historically, in Buddhist monastic traditions, those four conditions, or requisites, refer to the absolute basics needed for survival, right? Like food, clothing, shelter, and medicine.
Basically just having your fundamental physical needs met.
Right.
But I have to admit, my modern consumer conditioned brain initially interpreted not lacking as something entirely different.
Oh, I'm sure. What did you think it meant?
I thought it meant like being a total winner in life, having total wealth, perfect health, limitless VIP connections, basically just maximizing every possible metric you can.
See, that is the ultimate trap of modern consumer thinking. We reflexively equate not lacking with maximum accumulation.
Yes, more is always better.
Right. But consultant Benny corrects this using a very grounded plant analogy. So think about a tiny plant sitting on your windowsill.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
To survive, it needs water, sunlight, and fertilizer. If it has water and sun but completely lacks nutrients in the soil, it starves and dies.
Well, yeah, that much is obvious.
But consider what happens when we apply that modern more is better logic to it.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Right. If you decide to drown that small plant in like 3 gallons of water a day, and then you bury it under a mountain of the most premium, expensive fertilizer on the market.
The outcome is catastrophic.
Exactly. You burn the roots, you drown the stem. The plant dies just as quickly as if you had starved it. So not lacking does not mean hoarding things in excess. It points to a highly precise dynamic balance.
It's the state of being just right.
Exactly. You provide the exact environment needed for growth at that specific moment and nothing more.
And we have almost entirely lost that skill. I mean, we just swing back and forth like a pendulum between desperately hoarding resources, whether that's money or food or even validation from our peers.
Oh, the validation hoarding is so real.
It is. And then on the other end, we swing back to feeling utterly deprived. Finding that just right dynamic balance seems nearly impossible for us.
Which naturally brings up the second ideal mentioned in the teaching, entering the path with childlike innocence.
Meaning, starting with a blank slate. Right. A mind completely unpolluted by worldly prejudice and bad habits.
Yes, an untainted mind is the optimal starting point for true understanding. It allows you to observe reality without filters.
But wait, let me push back on this a little bit.
Go for it.
For you listening, and definitely for me, navigating corporate ladders, paying mortgages, dealing with deeply complex family dynamics, I mean, we are definitely not blank slates.
No, far from it.
I am completely soaked in worldly dyes. I have biases, I have emotional baggage, I have 1,000 deeply ingrained bad habits.
We all do.
So does this mean ordinary people like us are simply disqualified from this ideal state? Like, are we just doomed to fail before we even begin?
It's a common fear, but the teachings directly address this anxiety, and the answer is a resounding no. You are not disqualified.
Okay, that's a relief.
To illustrate this, the framework references the Buddhist concept of the 8 difficulties.
Right.
And these are situations so extreme that a person cannot even hear the truth, let alone practice it.
Like what kind of situations?
For example, being born into a state of severe famine or a war zone, or conversely being trapped in a state of blind, arrogant stubbornness.
Wait, why do those specific situations block you out? I mean, war I get, but arrogance.
Well, think about the underlying mechanism for both. If you're dodging bullets in a war zone or starving to death, your nervous system is trapped in pure survival mode.
Right, there is zero cognitive bandwidth for self-reflection.
Exactly. Your biology is overriding absolutely everything. But on the other end of the spectrum, if you are blinded by arrogance, your ego forms an impenetrable armor against new information.
Oh.
The mind literally cannot process objective reality because it is completely consumed by its own reflection.
So if you're stuck in one of these difficulties, or honestly even just stuck in the messy reality of modern life, how do you wipe a slate that's already covered in, like, permanent marker?
You don't try to wipe it clean instantly. Instead, you apply the core tool of this entire teaching, the as-it-is view.
The as-it-is view.
Yes. This means looking at a situation exactly as it is without the distortion of your own desires, fears, or assumptions.
Just raw reality.
Right. Even if you are trapped in a terrible situation of your own making, cultivating the as-it-is view acts as a tourniquet. It stops the bleeding.
It prevents you from flailing around blindly and turning a bad situation into an absolute disaster.
Exactly. It's the ultimate tool for immediate damage control.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though.
Oh, yeah.
Because if we desperately need this as-it-is view just to stop the bleeding, it implies that our default way of seeing the world is completely distorted.
It is.
We walk around thinking we are seeing reality, but we're actually looking through a thick, cloudy filter of our own ego.
We are virtually blinded by it.
And Venerable Ivy's inquiries draw out this brilliant explanation from consultant Benny. He uses the most striking, almost absurd analogy to expose the danger of the phrases "I think" or "I assume."
This is one of my favorite parts.
It's so good. I want you to picture this vividly.
Yeah.
You're sitting at a nice dinner table, and in front of you is a heavy, delicious, slippery pork rib.
Okay.
Now imagine trying to pick up that heavy piece of meat using a single, soft, fully cooked noodle.
Just a floppy, wet noodle.
Yes. And in your mind, you are absolutely 100% convinced that this wet noodle is going to function exactly like a sturdy wooden chopstick.
It sounds hilarious, but it's actually a deeply tragic image when you analyze the fallout.
Because physics simply does not care about your confidence.
No, it doesn't. The universe does not care how strongly you think the noodle's going to hold up. The noodle snaps.
Every single time.
Every time. But the tragedy isn't the broken noodle. The real tragedy is our human reaction to the failure.
Right.
Because instead of pausing, looking at the broken pasta in our hand, and realizing, oh, I used the wrong tool for the job, we get furious.
We blame the chef for overcooking the noodles.
We complain that the pork rib is too heavy. We might even yell at our family sitting across the table for distracting us.
That's so irrational.
It is. And this is what the teachings call reckless action. It's the violent, stubborn forcing of our subjective, I think, onto objective reality.
That maps so perfectly onto our real-world relationships, too. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, think about a typical family gathering during the holidays.
Oh, boy.
Right. On the surface, the photos look great. Everyone is sitting around the table, seemingly happy. But underneath, so often, everyone is profoundly lonely, frustrated, and just totally on edge.
Because everyone at that table is aggressively swinging their own wet noodle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone is projecting their own internal expectations onto each other. You think your sibling should act a certain way.
Your parents assume you want a specific type of career advice.
Exactly. Everyone is operating on this internal script of, I think you should be this. And when reality inevitably fails to match that script,
When the noodle breaks.
yes, when the noodle breaks, instead of adjusting their view to see the person sitting in front of them as they actually are, they just push harder.
They yell louder. They force it.
It is a total failure to communicate with objective reality, and it creates this endless cycle of mutual torture that we somehow disguise as familial love.
Which leads to a really crucial realization.
What's that?
Well, if the lack of the as-it-is view is destroying our external relationships and turning our family dinners into battlegrounds, what is that same distortion doing to our internal environment?
Oh, wow.
How does this failure to see reality solve the mystery of that chronic waking up tired fatigue we talked about at the very beginning?
This was easily my favorite part of the discussion between consultant Benny and Venerable Ivy. It takes a philosophical concept and makes it shockingly physical.
It really does.
So consultant Benny uses an analogy about ice cream and cake frosting.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine you're eating cake and you get that heavy, greasy frosting or like ice cream fat all over your hands.
Oh, I hate that feeling. It feels sticky and gross.
Right. So you go to the sink, you turn on the hot water, you use strong antibacterial soap, you scrub for a full minute, and yet when you dry your hands, they still feel kind of tacky.
Yes, you can still smell that sweet artificial residue buried in the lines of your skin.
Exactly. Now, follow that logic inward. When you consume heavy saturated fats and refined sugars, they do not just vanish into a void.
No, they don't.
That material goes down your esophagus, into your stomach, into your bloodstream, and eventually it permeates your cells.
So ask yourself a very literal question. Who is washing it out?
Right. You do not have a tiny sink with hot water and soap flowing through your internal organs.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate here for a second because I know what you listening might be thinking.
Sure, lay it on me.
From a modern medical perspective, food gets digested by acids and enzymes, right? Ice cream doesn't literally sit on our heart valves like physical sticky glue.
Right. My liver isn't actually coated in vanilla frosting.
Exactly. So isn't this analogy a bit, I don't know, fear-mongering?
That is a completely fair pushback. It is not literal physical glue sitting in your veins, but biochemically.
Yeah.
The mechanism behind the analogy is terrifyingly accurate.
Really?
Yeah. When you flood your system with heavy sugars and saturated fats, you cause massive blood sugar spikes. And the physiological fallout of that is insulin resistance and widespread systemic inflammation. Now, consider your cell's energy factories, the mitochondria. Their entire job is to convert nutrients into clean, usable energy. But when you drown them in this inflammatory high-sugar sludge, they are forced into absolute overdrive just to keep you functioning.
Oh, I see. It all comes back to the plant analogy. We're drowning the roots in too much premium fertilizer.
Yes, it is exactly like pouring cheap, sticky, contaminated oil into a highly calibrated precision engine.
The engine will technically still run for a while, but the internal friction is immense.
Right, it has to work 10 times as hard just to overcome the toxic environment you've created.
And this is the ultimate aha moment. This is the underlying mechanism of our exhaustion.
It all makes sense now.
You can sit at a desk all day, staring at a spreadsheet, not lifting anything heavier than a lukewarm cup of coffee, and feel completely physically drained by 5 p.m.
Because internally, your immune system and your cellular engine are fighting a brutal, exhausting, unseen war against your own diet.
And this is where the true practical power of the as-it-is view shines. Notice how the teachings do not tell you to use sheer willpower to stop eating junk food.
Right, because willpower is a finite resource, and honestly, white-knuckling your way through a diet is exhausting in its own right.
Exactly. But when you apply the as-it-is view, when you truly clearly see the reality that the 3 seconds of pleasure on your tongue is systematically paralyzing your life force on a cellular level,
The entire dynamic shifts.
the desire vanishes on its own. You do not need ascetic, monk-like discipline to put the ice cream down when you genuinely view it as poison to your mitochondria.
You just drop it out of a natural sense of awe and basic biological self-preservation. You see the noodle for what it is, and you stop trying to pick up the rib with it.
Perfectly said.
Okay, let's unpack this for the final step. Because we understand how to save ourselves now. We stop the mental bleeding by dropping our expectations, and we stop the biological bleeding by seeing our consumption for what it actually is. But how do we apply this outwards? How do we help our friends or family members who are clearly struggling without falling into the very traps we just identified?
Well, we immediately run into what we can call the compassion paradox.
The compassion paradox. Because if you want to engage in bodhisattva action, which basically means bringing joy and relief to others, the modern assumption is that you just give people what they want.
Right. If they're sad, you give them comfort.
If they want a treat, you buy it for them. If they want to complain about their boss, you validate them.
But consultant Benny presents a highly disruptive view on this. If someone loves things that actively harm them, handing them more of that harmful thing just to keep the peace is not compassion.
No.
In fact, the text goes so far as to label it demonic.
Demonic is a very strong word.
It's strong, but it's strong because the psychological mechanism at play is deeply destructive.
How so?
Think about it. When you validate someone's harmful delusion just to avoid an argument, you become a co-conspirator in their suffering.
Oh.
You're cementing their cognitive distortion, and you're sealing them inside a false reality. You prioritize your own short-term comfort, like avoiding conflict, over their actual long-term well-being.
It's a toxic form of spoiling disguised as love.
Exactly.
But wait, if my family member is eating that inflammation-causing ice cream, and I just run over, snatch it out of their hands, and start lecturing them about their mitochondria and their insulin resistance.
They are going to think you've lost your mind.
Right. They will hate me. I am certainly not bringing them joy or relieving their suffering in that moment.
You're not. And the teachings actually agree that forceful deprivation or, arrogant lecturing is equally wrong.
What's the alternative?
True compassion, what the framework refers to as great compassion eradicating suffering, means guiding the person to realize the truth for themselves.
Okay.
But you cannot start at the top of the staircase. This requires an approach we can call downward compatibility.
Downward compatibility. I like that phrase.
To explain the mechanism of this, the source contrasts two ideas. First, it mentions the 32 marks of the Buddha, which represent the highest, most divine, ultimate truths of enlightenment.
Okay, the highest truths.
Right. Now imagine taking a person who is drowning in credit card debt. They're incredibly stressed about their failing marriage, and they're just totally burned out.
So a lot of people today.
Yeah, exactly. If you walk up to them and start preaching about the 32 marks of divine enlightenment, they will not process a single word.
The barrier to entry is simply too high.
Right. Their mind is too clouded by their immediate agonizing reality.
You know, it makes me think of an ER patient.
How do you mean?
Well, if you walk into an emergency room and you see a patient screaming in agony, clutching their stomach because of severe internal cramps, you would never pull up a chair, clear your throat, and start reading them a complex philosophical treatise on the profound nature of existence.
No, if you tried that, they would probably throw something at you.
Exactly. They do not want philosophy. They want a painkiller. They need the immediate blinding pain to stop.
And that analogy perfectly sets up the concluding story from the teachings about the Buddha acting as the medicine king.
The medicine king.
Yes. The story illustrates that to truly help people, the Buddha did not just stand on a high mountain preaching high-dimensional truths to people who were suffering. He literally became medicine.
He lowered the barrier to entry.
True compassion is downward compatibility. It means meeting people in their actual messy pain. You offer them the immediate, tangible relief they need, the proverbial painkiller, so that the immediate suffering subsides.
And only then do they regain enough mental bandwidth and cognitive space to see the bigger truth for themselves.
Exactly. You ease the immediate friction first so they eventually have the capacity to use the as-it-is view on their own.
So you don't forcefully snatch the ice cream out of their hands. You offer a healthier alternative that still provides the comfort they're desperately seeking, and you just patiently guide them.
It is the profound difference between performing your own righteousness and actually doing the hard work of helping someone heal.
So what does this all mean for us today?
Well, the core mechanism we've uncovered is that almost all our exhaustion comes from fighting reality.
We fight our own biology, we fight our family's actual personalities, and we fight the present moment because we refuse to see things as they are.
But there is one final, incredibly provocative thought that stems directly from the end of consultant Benny's dialogue with Venerable Ivy, and it takes everything we just discussed and scales it way up.
Oh, I know what you're going to bring up.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time establishing the biochemical reality that a single bite of physical ice cream, loaded with dense sugar and saturated fat, can bog down our cellular energy factories and leave us physically exhausted.
Right.
But apply that exact same mechanism to our modern information-exploding society.
Think about what you do when you're trying to relax at the end of the day.
We scroll through endless short-form, highly stimulating, emotionally manipulative garbage on our screens.
The outrage bait, the flashy videos, the constant notifications.
And this raises a genuinely chilling question. If a physical dessert is physical ice cream, aren't these endless streams of digital stimulation nonstop scoops of mental ice cream?
Oh, wow.
If physical sugar causes inflammation in your body and makes your immune system wage a war on your internal organs, what kind of toxic wasteland is this high-stimulation mental ice cream turning your brain's neural pathways into?
We are literally drowning our cognitive mitochondria.
Yes.
We are exhausting our minds by forcing them to digest thousands of pieces of hyperstimulating junk data every single hour.
It completely degrades our ability to focus, our capacity to empathize, and our ability to cultivate that vital as-it-is view because our brains are constantly inflamed by digital sugar.
It completely reframes that weekend exhaustion we talked about at the very start.
It really does.
Maybe you didn't just run a physical marathon in your sleep. Maybe your brain was just desperately trying to recover from a week-long digital sugar binge.
It's a sobering thought.
It is. I want you to look at the glowing screen in your hand right now. Think about what you are about to feed your mind next. Ponder that question, practice the as-it-is view, and we will be back to unpack more next time. See you on the next deep dive.